The Global X S&P 500 US Revenue Leaders ETF and the Global X S&P 500 US Market Leaders Top 50 ETF are passively managed strategies that take an innovative approach to investing domestically. The S&P 500 US Revenue Leaders ETF, ticker EGLE, tracks the S&P 500 US Revenue Leaders Index, which measures companies within the S&P 500 that derive at least 50% of their revenue within the United States. The S&P 500 US Market Leaders Top 50 ETF, ticker FLAG, also invests in S&P 500 constituents excluding the real estate sector that generate the majority of their revenue from the US, but its tracking index, the S&P 500 US Revenue Market Leaders 50 Index, takes the additional step of scoring companies based on key indicators of quality and business strength. Only the 50 highest scoring companies make it into the index and therefore into the fund. The S&P 500 dates back to 1957 and has represented one of the most popular ways for investors to get broad exposure to the US for decades. However, structural shifts in the global economy may warrant a change in how we think about what makes a company a US company. The digitization of the economy, growing consumer spending in emerging markets, and a prolonged period of relative global stability have broadly encouraged US companies to invest in international distribution. Today, more than a quarter of the constituents within the S&P 500 generate the majority of their revenue outside the United States. It raises a key question: what really defines a US company today? As global trade dynamics shift, international revenue, once seen as a growth opportunity, may now bring new layers of complexity for businesses operating across borders. The S&P 500 US Revenue Leaders ETF may help investors navigate the potential risks of global fragmentation by looking beyond a company's domicile and focusing on pure-play US companies, those that earn most of their revenue domestically. By focusing on pure-play domestic companies and leveraging a quality screen, FLAG holds companies that may be poised for success in a variety of market environments. Companies with a domestic focus that demonstrate market leadership may be able to capitalize on the strength of the US economy. On the other hand, companies with strong quality metrics generally correspond to strong balance sheets, which could potentially help investors weather cyclical pressures. While many investment strategies consider quality in one way or another, the US Market Leaders Top 50 ETF stands apart by tying together a quality screening process and domestic revenue focus. As portfolios adapt to today's shifting global landscape, the Global X S&P 500 US Revenue Leaders ETF, EGLE, and the Global X S&P 500 US Market Leaders Top 50 ETF, FLAG, offer innovative ways to evolve core allocations and reflect the realities of a rapidly changing world.